It's been a few months since I reviewed the ROG Phone 3, and back when I reviewed it, I found it to be the best value for money flagship around. Now, in these few months, quite a few other phones have launched, and given that I've been in quarantine as people around me have tested positive and all that, I've had more time to go back to this phone. I've spent quite a bit of time with this. So is the ROG Phone 3 still the best value for money flagship after all these launches, or has it lost its crown to something else? So how does it hold up today after all the dust is settled, after all the hype from the launch is dead? How is this as a phone today? Is it only for gamers, or even can regular people looking for regular use for a flagship phone consider this? Let's take a second look. Hey guys, Ash here from C4E Tech, and if you do end up finding this video interesting, please subscribe and turn on notifications by hitting that bell icon. Let's now get started. Let's start with the highlight of the ROG Phone 3, the internals. Now don't get me wrong, it has quite a lot of other things going for it, but the ROG series, it's always been about the specs, it's been about flagship chips, the best performance possible, and not much has changed with the third generation ROG. So this year, it has a Snapdragon 865 Plus chip, and Asus have also paid a lot of attention to the cooling. With a super large vapor chamber and heatsink, the ROG Phone 3 has been able to sustain peak performance for longer than its competition. Now, especially with Samsung going Exynos in India, there is a little bit of a vacuum left up top for the best performance phone, outside of iPhones, of course, and the ROG Phone 3 has kind of filled that niche quite well. Now, Asus has a X mode for this phone. So that's basically your high performance mode. And one thing I was curious to find out was, if you leave the phone on X mode all the time, are there going to be any adverse effects? And I ended up testing it out in my time with this phone. I left it on X mode all the time, and it did not cause any heating issues. Of course, if I ended up gaming for a long time on this phone, then it did get a little warm. By the way, I did not spend much time with the AeroActive cooler because, hey, I'm quarantined at home. That's stuck in the office, so I ended up using it just as is, and the performance has been great. Now, the reason why I was able to leave it on X mode all the time is because it's got an exemplary battery life. There's a 6000 mAh battery inside, and it lasts all day. Most people using this phone would not be able to drain it in under 1 day because the battery life has been that impressive. I can safely say that this phone has the best battery life amongst all phones with a flagship chip. Now, while the battery life is class leading, the charge speeds aren't. But it's still a very respectable 30 watts, so you can go from 0 to 50 in about half an hour, 0 to 100 in about an hour and a half. So that's quite respectable, especially given there's a 6000 mAh battery. Other specs include 8 or 12 gigs of RAM along with 128 or 256 gigs of storage. It's LPDDR5 RAM, it's UFS 3.1 storage, so again best in class. Asus have also launched a new variant right now, one with 12 gigs of RAM and 128 gigs of storage. I would personally either go for 128 or 12 256. I wouldn't really go for the middle variant because extra storage, hey, there is no micro SD on it, so extra storage is always welcome. Once you're above 8 gigs of RAM, I don't feel like it's going to be worth getting a 12 128, but again, that's just me. Now, while there is no micro SD, there is support for 2 SIMs. These are 2 physical SIMs that this phone supports, so 2 nano SIMs. The support for 5G for what it's worth. And while we are on this topic, call quality has been excellent, and so has been cellular reception. But the lack of a headphone jack, that was a bummer, especially given this is a gaming phone. Now, it's not just a ROG thing. Almost all phones with flagship chips today come without a headphone jack, barring LG. So it's an industry thing, and it still is a disappointment, especially on gaming phones. That said, with the AeroActive cooler, you do get the headphone jack back. For what it's worth, it is an option. The entire ROG ecosystem that Asus have been promising, that's been developed, so you can still use ROG Phone 2 accessories, most of them with the ROG Phone 3, and the ROG Phone 3 accessories are all backwards compatible. Most of them are backwards compatible with the ROG Phone 2. So whether you want to dock your phone or add another display to stream, that's all doable. Now, I've been talking about gaming a lot, but the ROG Phone 3, it's not just about gaming. Now, someone like me who does not game on mobile phones for a long time, even for a person like me, this is a phone worth considering as long as you can put up with one caveat. And what's that, you ask? Let's cut back to my original review for a bit. Let's get this out of the way straight away. The ROG Phone 3 is a heavy phone. There are no two ways about it. At 240 grams, this is gonna be one of the most heaviest phones that you're gonna come across. Now, there's a good reason for it, but that's not gonna make it any easier on your hands, especially when you're holding this phone and taking long calls. Now, that's something I absolutely detested doing. I usually use Bluetooth earphones for all my calling, but on the rare occasion I didn't get my hands on a pair and I used the ROG, I found myself hating it. And that feeling did not go away for me, so that's something I kept feeling because this is amongst the heaviest phones around today. I know that's because of the display, I know that's because of the battery capacity, but hey, it is a trade-off, and if you're willing to put up with this trade-off, then you're going to be happy with the ROG Phone 3. One of the weak links for the ROG series has been the optics. Now, it's not that the cameras have been bad, but it's just that the phone generally, it's going toe-to-toe with flagship phones priced much higher. The camera is generally just above average, so that's kind of stood out. Now, that has changed to an extent here with the ROG Phone 3. We have a triple camera setup to the back. The primary is Sony's flagship IMX686, a 64 megapixel sensor that's been paired with an f1.8 lens by Asus. As you can see with this shot of the focal utopia, which was shot under mixed indoor lighting, there's a lot of detail, the processing is good, and similarly in this shot, again, we can see the detail come out, the color reproduction, the white balance, it's all on point. There's a dedicated night mode, and while the absence of OIS is felt here, it's still serviceable. The 24 megapixel selfie camera, it also does a decent job. Even with portraits, it seems pretty effective. On the software side of things, Asus has support for 8K video, a full pro mode for both video as well as stills. The rest of the interface, now that is a reason why I kept coming back to this phone. With such top-of-the-line internals, Asus could have been justified in saying, hey, this is a gaming phone, so we've gone ahead and skinned it so heavily. That's something a lot of brands do, but Asus have been happy to leave a lot of things stockish. So yes, they have their own tweaks here. There's Armory Crate that lets you do gaming related stuff. And for example, you can program these air triggers. There are 4 options this time around, but largely the interface has been stockish. The speed that we associate with stock Android, that is present here. Now remember how I said I left the phone on X mode throughout my time testing it? I also left another battery draining feature on, that is the refresh rate. So the refresh rate, I let it set at 144 Hz. Asus does give you choices. Like most brands, there is a 60 Hz option, but Asus also lets you choose 90 Hz and 120 Hz as options. And this is probably the one phone that does not need it because of the exemplary battery life. The other phones where we could make use of a 90 Hz option, brands don't offer it, but Asus does. It's not really useful because I ended up leaving the phone on 144 Hz throughout my time with it, and the battery life, I still had no issues. And while we are talking about displays, this here is a 6.59-inch panel. It's still AMOLED. It's 144 Hz, like I said. The resolution is Full HD+. It's HDR capable. The specs are stacked. So overall, even a few months after launch, the ROG Phone 3 remains extremely good value for money. Now with the Big Billion Day sale, Asus are sweetening the pot. They're offering no-cost EMI for 3, 6, and 9 months. So for as low as about 5,500 rupees a month, you could pick one of these phones up. And this seems to be the best time to do so. There are additional offers that Flipkart is going to be offering on SBI cards. So whatever that is, that's a little bit, that's going to get the cost down a little more. So now going back to my original question on after all these launches, is this still the best value for money flagship out there? The answer is a resounding yes. This is probably going to get you the best performance for the money you put in. And that is my take on the ROG Phone 3 today. What about you? What do you feel about this phone? If you were gonna pick up a top-of-the-line, high-spec, flagship internal touring phone today, would it be the ROG Phone 3? Or is there something else you'd pick up? Maybe there's a launch you're waiting for. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And with that, we get to the end of the second review. Thumbs up, thumbs down based on whatever you felt about it. Subscribe, turn on notifications by hitting that bell icon if you haven't yet. And thanks a lot for watching. Till next time, my name's Ash. You've been watching C4 Retech, and I'm signing off for now. You guys have a great day. Bye bye.